Welcome to the Whistleblower. My name is Ian Trent, and joining me is today's outstanding panel of water polo illuminaries. It was legends last week, and now it's illuminaries. The former FINA referee is in Sydney. He joins us now. Phil Bauer. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Ian. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, we're going down to lockdown in Melbourne, and Australia's top referee, Danny Flav. Hi, Dan. How are you coping with the lockdown and all of the hoo-ha with it all?
You know, we're getting closer to getting our freedom. Another couple of weeks, and hopefully, with the way the count's going downwards in the right direction, we might be allowed out of our house. So,
can you just turn yourself up a little bit there?
Sure, mate. I can do that.
Okay. So you're
sorry about that.
Yeah, you're still a bit soft. So you're still locked up, are you?
Yes, mate. Still locked up. Probably another 3 weeks to go, and we should be right after that, hopefully.
Fantastic. Okay. And the Pies, they lost again, but I'm not talking football tonight because those Bombers, they are disgraceful. Okay.
Yes.
Phil's happy with the Roosters as usual. Okay. Who do you follow, Keisha?
The Swans.
Oh, they did particularly well this week.
Oh, that's good.
A rookie panellist and a footy fan too. Australian women's team champion. Welcome, Keisha Gophers.
Thank you. Happy to be involved. Happy to be here.
All right. And how's your time off been? Or not time off, but strange time, isn't it? The last 6 months has been really strange.
I think, yeah, strange time is a good way to put it. You know, it's a bit of a pivot to what we're normally doing, but I think I kind of love, you know, a bit of a change of scenery. So you got to make the most of it. And that's what we're trying to do out at NSWIS. So, yeah, no, it's been okay. We're trying to just keep positive and make the most of the situation and keep training hard so that when we do get to those Olympic Games, we are ready to go and haven't left anything unsure or undone.
And so you're out at NSWIS how often a week?
Yeah, so we're there every morning, twice a day, like 2 sessions in the morning with gym and pool, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then just the pool session on the Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good to see you keeping busy. So you don't work at all?
I actually work for Water Polo Australia with the alumni program.
Of course.
Part-time job, and I'm also a florist. So if you've got any, you know, Sue might like a bouquet every now and again. So if you, you know, I'm at your service if you'd like to hire me for that.
Who has seen your flowers, and they are magnificent. Now, you mentioned the alumni. Tell us a bit more about that program.
Yeah, so that's a new reinvigorated program. Basically, Water Polo Australia's initiative to reconnect, re-engage alumni. So that's players, that's squad members, that's coaches, staff, referees. Definitely shout out to the referees. We're looking for you guys to be involved in the alumni program, just to reconnect and, you know, get people back into the sport, and also to like share all the amazing things that our alumni get up to, because there are just heaps of amazing stories out there, well beyond the athletic careers of alumni. So, you know, I'm super passionate about it because I just think the more I look into it, the more outstanding and incredible achievements that there are to share. And I really want people who have given a lot to the sport of water polo, to come back and enjoy, you know, what's going on now and be involved in the community and have that support, especially in these, as you mentioned, strange times.
They are strange. And Phil's forgot to turn himself on again.
Phil forgot to unmute himself. That's great, Alicia. Keisha. So how much of a day does that take you? I mean, you train every morning, then do you go to the Australian Water Polo office, or do you just go home and start working?
No, yeah, I'm able to just work from home. But yeah, we're basically out at Homebush most of the morning. So I get home around 12, have lunch. Very important part of the day, have lunch. And then yeah, do a little bit of work on the alumni, depending on how the mood takes me, I suppose. Sometimes I work on Mondays and Tuesdays, sometimes Thursdays, Fridays. It's great to, in these COVID times, to be flexible.
Strange times, like we said. Now, if you'd like to ask Keisha a question, or the referee panel of Phil and Danny, look at your Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen, right? Just press it and write your question and we'll get it on for you, okay? So it's that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Or if you'd like, when we have our special guest just shortly, Alicia Smith,
Ian,
ask her a question,
well,
please.
I can't hear nothing. I can't see anything, mate.
You've gone. We can hear
I'm
you.
going to have to log out and log back in again.
Okay, well, Danny's going to leave us for
I'm
just
just
a
going to
bit.
try.
Okay,
Mate, if you can hear me, put your thumb up and I'll log out and log back in again. Okay, I've got to jump out.
right. You'll get his technical gurus in Melbourne and get him back on there. Okay, now, so audience questions, yeah, your Q&A box down there. If you'd like to email us, it's whistleblowerpolo@gmail.com, and the Instagram address is whistleblowerpolo at who is TWB, the whistleblower. Okay, there it is on your screen, and we'd like to hear from you. Is that survey still going, Phil?
Yes, Ian, the survey's still going. The link's on Australian Water Polo website.
Okay. So if anybody has a comment to make about the show,
We've had some really interesting comments, actually. Yep.
okay, have they been constructive?
Every comment's constructive. It depends how you look at them, but yeah, they have been. Yes, and hopefully with Keisha on the show, we've looked at and reacted to a couple of the comments.
Good.
Ah,
Okay.
I see.
While we're waiting for Danny to get back to us, Keisha, have you got any news from Sydney Uni Club? They're training, aren't they?
Yeah, we're training. So Dudi is training the National League squad, and there's some junior teams also training. I know the men's team is also training. I think it's less about the competition or whatever might be. More about getting together, getting people active, touching base with each other, and just keeping as fit as possible. I think it's been previously hard to do training, so I think everyone was itching to just get back and do something. Less about being as fit as you possibly can be, and more about getting everyone together and having a good time playing water polo, which is always a good thing.
That's what it's all about. Have you got any friends overseas that are affected by the virus? How are they going?
Well, it's interesting. I think I played in Greece last year, so I have a lot of friends over in Greece, and sometimes I'll see them doing things like they would have done. Oh, and Arnie, of course, is in Spain, but traveling to different countries and doing things that I think are well beyond the realms of possibility. So it's interesting. I don't really know what's happening over there, because it seems like it's all normal sometimes, but at the same time, they've got their own concerns and issues about the Olympics, qualifying for the Olympics. How does that even work? How does that happen? What does their next international competition look like? Same as what we have over here. So while some things are very different, they can travel between countries, and we can't travel between states. Other concerns are very much the same.
Well, I did notice Arnie Espar was holidaying in Greece, so you'd get out of Spain, because Greece has been pretty good, I believe. They're sort of a little bit like us, I think. And Spain, we all know about Spain, Italy, France. They've not been good there. Arnie, she just hightails it over to Greece, no worries at all. We can't even get, up to Queensland.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but it is interesting what other countries are doing. Like I know Canada just had a long camp altogether. I think their restrictions are relatively strict. So they decided to have a camp, and then they're now home. But and then I think America might be doing something completely different. It's all just, based on the situation of your country and what you think is best for your team in the moment.
Mm. Okay. Well, Phil, we may as well go. Why don't we go to the rules now, or would you like to do that later? We're just missing a panelist here, and he's a vital one.
Let's go to our special guest and come back to the rules if we have time later. I think that'd be the way to go, Ian.
Let's do that. And this lady is a former dual Olympian. Right? Went to the Beijing and London Olympics. One of our all-time great goalkeepers, and she's also won a couple of National League titles as a coach. And she joins us now from beautiful Canowindra. And it's a big welcome to Alicia Smith. Hi, Alicia. How you doing?
Hi, good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. Okay, it's all about you for a little while.
Okay.
Alicia Smith, born in Helensburgh, or at least lived there when you were very, very young.
Yeah, moved there when I was 2.5.
Helensburgh does not, and water polo, they don't seem to, go hand in hand. How did you start?
Sure. So I guess Helensburgh's not far from the coast, and I was doing surf. Then to get stronger for surf, I was doing swim training. And this fun thing next to swim training was being played with a ball. So after a bit of inquiry, I found out more about water polo. And through family friends, the Bedwells, who lots of their children played in national teams, they got me involved with water polo. And I started playing when I went to Kirrawee High School.
Right. So what made you a goalkeeper, Alicia?
Are
you one of those special people that just like to get in there? I mean, we all know goalkeepers are a little bit strange.
So not special enough to choose the position. So my first coach was Mel Bedwell, and we were actually all rotating through goals. It was my turn, funnily enough. Sydney Uni Mini was my turn to be in goals. And after I played in goals that night, she said, "That's it, you stay there." I think it was the aggression that kept me in my position.
Seemed to me that was a reasonably pertinent sort of move, and well done, Mel. Okay, so goalkeeping as a junior. Look, I remember you in it as an under-16 and whatever, and you couldn't get enough of it, right? Did you instantly fall in love with goalkeeping?
I don't know. I feel like as a junior, there were times that I wanted to get out and play on the field. But I think luckily enough for me, for school, I was playing on the field, and then obviously on a weekend playing for Cronulla, I was in goals. So getting the best of both worlds, really. And I think it was more a fact that everyone else was too scared to be in goals, and I quite enjoyed having everyone peg balls at me. And it was the competition of, being able to stop someone that I enjoyed. So that's why I stayed there.
So in the early days, Alicia, coming up, so through under-16s, in all your junior polo, who are your most influential coaches and people around you?
Yeah, I guess I had Brew for a very long time, coming through Cronulla. And for me, it was all about fun with him. And then we obviously had Brew also for national junior stuff. So I didn't have a lot of different coaches coming along. For me, I guess I looked up to the Bedwells so much, and Mel got me involved, and I always looked up to her, and the family was just amazing with me. So yeah, I took a lot of feedback and things from those around me, but I didn't really have anyone that I inspired to look up to. It wasn't until a little bit later on, and I was doing some work with Liz Weeks that, then she's what I wanted to be. And happy to say that we're still friends today. So
coming up, apart from playing state championships and national as a junior, in Cronulla, in your era, did you play under 16s, under 14s, or did you go straight to grade?
I didn't play 14s. I didn't start playing till I went to high school. So I was already 15 when I actually started playing. So I played under 16s. We also, I think it was just as I got out of 16s, they had Phillies, which was the 18s, which I played for club. Whilst playing 16s and 18s, I started in 3rd grade, 2nd grade, 1st grade. That's how my progression pretty much went. And then obviously International League when it started happening for women.
So who was there before you, Alicia? Was it Karen Kerr?
Yeah.
Was she the 1st grade goalie before you?
Not when I was trying to get into 1st grade. So Amber Lum was the 1st grade goalkeeper.
Okay.
So, and then unfortunately for Amber, she had a very bad car accident. So that kind of gave me a chance to start playing 1st grade. Otherwise, I probably would have sat behind her for a lot longer.
Alrighty. And I know that your parents were a big, big support. I remember Ronnie used to drive you all over around the world, didn't he?
Yeah, so Dad took me everywhere I needed to go, where Mum held down the house at home and looked after my little brother. At one stage there, I didn't see Dad for a lot of time other than him driving me somewhere, because he was working 4 jobs to essentially be able to afford for us as a family to live, but also to send me everywhere I needed to go. I mean, I look at what it cost back then for me to do what I did, and I don't know how parents afford it these days.
Maka, I actually remember your brother from Beijing, because him and I and Blaze, the Santa Marito siblings, so we were a little sibling gang. We were in the stands, and you know he was cheering loudly and having a great time with the rest of us. With your Beijing experience or the lead up, what can you say about that? Like the memories or the not necessarily games itself, but leading up to it, making your first Olympic team, the struggle, the highlights. Tell us.
I guess I did the lead up to Athens beforehand, and obviously didn't get to go to that. But seeing what it meant to everyone as they kind of made the team and took off, and watching that from home, that whole 4-year cycle for me in the lead up to Beijing was important. Had many, many ups and downs. Didn't enjoy a lot of the ride, but saw the outcome that was there to achieve. And then once I'd made the team, it was all one step at a time, and tried to soak up absolutely everything I could, because I didn't know if I'd ever be in that situation again. I do get asked a lot about how I feel about the Olympics, and I guess going in wanting to win gold, knowing that us and America were 1-2 all the way leading up, and then we come away with a bronze. While we finished on a high winning something, I feel like we didn't achieve what we wanted, and I didn't achieve a goal. So I still have this bittersweet. Loved that I made an Olympic team, hated that I never came away with a gold. That's how I felt at the end of Beijing, and that was kind of my drive for London. Unfortunately, ended the same way. And I had already chose to retire. Previous to the London Games starting, I had chose to retire post-London and start my new life.
And do you feel still that bittersweet, or do you think because you were able to do something amazing, compete at 2 Olympics, have 2 bronze medals, that it's, and like also back up from a disappointment which anyone else around the country, I'm sure around the world, would not see as that, but be able to back up and bounce back, and then go through another Olympics, put yourself through something that did hurt you potentially so much the first time round. Do you see that? I mean, look, I mean, maybe I'm answering for you, but I see that as an amazing achievement. So how do you feel about the Olympics plural now?
I still feel the same way. Still a bittersweet.
Because off my pep talk.
Funnily enough, people will say, "Oh, how do you feel about winning at the Olympics?" I'm like, well, a bronze is, yes, winning slightly. It's not winning. So yeah, I still didn't achieve a goal. So I don't have any regrets, but I have disappointment. And I can look at the journey now and see what it's given me. Really funny, actually. Some people, I didn't have it on my resume when I was trying to get a job out here. Not many jobs in the country, I can tell you that much. And then it wasn't until Ben, my husband, said to me, you have to put the Olympics on your resume. Like, it says so much about the way you lived your life. And now, once I did put it on my resume, and I got asked in the interview, why is it in this tiny little corner that you went to an Olympics? And I guess, yeah, it is something that I achieved, and it is amazing. But yeah, at the same time, there is that little bit of pain that just lingers there because there is no gold medal.
So, Alicia, as a goalkeeper, there's two of you in a team, and how did you play in the bronze medal game in Beijing? I know you did in London, and we'll get to that. But how hard is it to sit and watch and be a great teammate, knowing you're going to be sitting on the bench for a full game, and you want the other goalie to do really well, but you'd also be longing to get in and take a place?
Yeah, I guess in Beijing, Dumper had swapped us out a little bit during the rounds, and it wasn't a given that you would play a full game. So the whole time I did sit on the edge of my seat, wishing and hoping that I might get a chance. And it's not that you want the other goalkeeper to play poorly, because obviously you want to win. So you need everyone firing on all cylinders. But at the same time, you want to get your slice of the pie, I guess. And it was an interesting feeling at the end of the game, because you've just won a bronze medal at your first Olympics, but you didn't actually play for it. So I came away from Beijing, and the last game we lost. So we lost. I lost a game to get to the gold medal match, is how I felt about it. So yeah, it was hard, but at the same time, we wouldn't have got to that point had we not all have played the whole week anyway. So yeah, you are a part of the bronze medal, but you're not. So
we'll get to London, because not everyone will know what actually happened in London in the bronze medal game. But you went from, if you can explain it, and it really shows your character, where a horrendous mistake, and then you win the game for the team.
Yeah, look, I do tell the joke that I wasn't ready to retire, but really it came down to the fact that it was allowed, and I was trying to find the free player in the pool. And while I was looking around, because two players that had spread widest that I both looked at, both had someone really tight on them on the lane rope. And I wanted to make a safe pass. You know what? Should have just given it to someone on the lane rope and made them deal with the situation. But whilst looking to make a safe pass, there was someone swimming underwater, which no one was aware of. And I think because there was only a few seconds left, everyone on the bench was so excited and screaming already that we'd won. And as we all know, you don't think that you've won it until that final whistle blows. So the ball was taken off me and pushed in the goals, ending, normal time. Going into extra time, Dumper was really good with me. He could have dragged me, easily could have dragged me in that situation. But I won't use the words he used, but he pretty much told me to get in there and do it. And you know what? It was Mel Rippon and Kate Ginther who turned around to me and said, "You've got this. You'll be a brick wall. You'll bring everything down. Don't worry about it. We'll score you a goal." And Beattie said, "I've got it. I'll score you the goal." And that was it. It was those three. They turned around to me and just said, "You've got it." I can't say that everyone in the team felt that way, but it only needed to be one player that turned to me and said that. And it just gives you enough to know that you've got to do it for the team. So fortunately enough for me, we did score, and they didn't. So 2 times in a row that Hungary went down to us and didn't win the bronze medal.
So, Mako, in that game, in the last 10 seconds, which unfortunately thing happened, did you think the players didn't want the ball, or they thought that, as you said, they thought you guys already won and you were in control of the ball and didn't need to pass?
No, I think I haven't watched it back, Danny. Like there's been, I've seen like snippets of it on different things that have been on Facebook and whatever, but I haven't watched the game back. I don't know who the free player was, and I probably don't want to know who the free player was. But I was looking for furthest away and widest from the goal. And there wasn't that long. Like when you think about how long that is, it's not a long time. And as a goalkeeper, you usually are pretty safe in that scenario. Mind you, I have seen it happen nearly to other goalkeepers who I've screamed at from the side of the pool since, thinking, how have you not learnt from my mistake? But yeah, look, I think everyone wanted it, but at the same time, I wasn't prepared to give it to a player who was heavily marked.
Fair enough.
So, Alicia, what advice would you give to young goalkeepers about making mistakes in general, right? And if you make an absolute clanger, what should your mind process be going through to make it better?
I mean, it's really hard. Like if you make a simple error that's your fault, you've just got to own it. If it's a goal that's going in and you're the last line of defence and it's got through 6 others, then you've done everything you can. That was a huge mistake, and it could have gone completely the opposite way when we went into extra time. And I was really lucky it didn't, because I really don't know how mentally I would have coped if it didn't go the way that it did. So it's a hard one to say, because I can sit here now that my scenario played out the way that I needed it to and say, oh, you can get over it and learn from your mistakes and things like that. But to be completely honest, I don't know mentally how I would have been had it not gone that way. So it's a hard one. But the goalkeeper is the last line of defence, so it has had to pass through everybody else first. The player that shoots that last goal should have had someone marking them anyway. So yeah, you're only as good as an individual as your team is together.
So, Mackie, only the new rules, how they are now, where if the goalie's got the ball, you virtually can't touch them.
Yep.
And then it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, very true. But then, yeah, I guess it could happen to anyone though. Yep. So it could have, if I could have passed it to a field player, I could have swum out away from my goals so that I was protecting the ball and moving away from the goals, and then given it to a field player, and then they could have had it taken off them and it could have been thrown in the goals. So the scenario can still happen. It just won't happen to a goalkeeper. So, which I'm very thankful that no one will go through that anymore. But yeah, it could happen to anyone. And I would say the same thing to a field player, that, the team needs to protect you and protect the ball in that situation, especially if you think you've got it all tied up and there's not long left, that ball becomes so precious.
Yeah.
Aka, what are your favourite things or favourite thing about the Olympic Games? Your highlight?
Yeah, wow. It's really hard to say a favourite thing, because you think of so many different things that happen throughout the week or 2 weeks. Like walking out in the opening ceremony is amazing, and we were lucky enough to do it twice. Dumper let us do it both times. It was our decision, and both times we chose to do it. Down to your first game, down to, winning a game in a penalty shootout, to the final game where you win a medal, to walking around the village and seeing all the different athletes from sports that you never thought you would interact with, to seeing your parents in the stands who have put so much time, effort, money into your achievement also. I couldn't put my finger on one thing that is more special than anything else.
Okay, and we like to talk about refereeing in this show. Does anything stand out about both of those Olympics refereeing-wise to you?
As a goalkeeper, probably not. I don't need to get angry at the referee, because I haven't just got smashed and look up and think, why did I not get anything from that? So I don't know. I don't ever really think too much about the referees as a player, as a goalkeeper. Vastly different as a coach. It comes into my planning of the game, but as a player, I never even considered really who the referee was or what they were doing, because I was a goalkeeper.
So you decided to retire after 2012. What did you do?
Straight after, not much. I did go and coach Cronulla National League. because I wanted to give back a little bit because I'd been given so much from the sport. So I started working at Water Polo Australia and coaching for Cronulla, and that's what I was really doing.
So was that your first coaching gig, Cronulla National League?
The year I had surgery, so I had surgery at the end of 2009. So I coached the 2010 season because I couldn't play. So that was my first coaching. That was much harder because I was coaching my peers.
Yeah.
So I'd gone straight from directly playing with them to coaching them to the next year playing with them again. That was probably the hardest year I've ever coached.
That's a tough gig, first coaching gig ever, nationally.
Yeah, it was. I had a lot of guidance. Luckily for me, it was Dumper that wanted me to coach. And he did sit on the side during games and give me a little bit of advice here and there on what I should be doing as a coach, because I was in the deep end, really. I'd obviously coached junior teams before, but that's really all about fun and kids having a good time. But yeah, when it came to National League, it's very different. So it was difficult, but I would say that the second time round I coached Cronulla, I had learnt lessons. Did it a little bit of a different way. But yeah, I only stayed coaching for the one season. And at the end of that season, I announced my pregnancy. So I was pregnant with my first child. So the following year, Cronulla decided to get a different coach. So that was it for me, coaching down there.
But then the story gets much better. So you started to play for Sydney Uni, and tell us, how did that happen? How did that come about?
So actually, Leah had a niggly injury. So that would have been the 2013 season, I think it would. Oh no, maybe 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So yeah, Leah had a niggly injury, and Ian here gave me a call and said, if Leah goes down, will you come play for us? Well, no one else had asked me to play, or coach or do anything of the sort. So I thought, oh yeah, sure, why not? Thought, yeah, Leah will be fine. A month, 6 weeks later, I got a call saying, so Leah's leg's fine, but she's just broken her thumb. Can you come play? So that was a Saturday that Ian called me, and Sydney Uni were up in Newcastle doing the Saturday, Sunday hit out. So the following Tuesday night, I turned up to training, killed myself because I hadn't been in water in about, I think it was 10 months or something since I'd even dipped in a pool.
You were great.
But yeah, so then played out the rest of that season with you guys.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Which was good. Fantastic.
Great.
And won a bronze medal that year?
Yeah, we did. I do dare say, though, if Leah had been playing, it would have been a different outcome.
Yes, Balmain would have won with the bronze medal. Yeah.
Well, I hesitate to say,
that
Phil, that we did play you in that bronze medal game, and it was nice and tight.
Sorry, Phil.
We couldn't score a goal. We could not score a goal.
Must have been the goalkeeper and the defenders in front of her. But you had some nice players in your team, though, Phil. Some good names, some veterans.
We had some superstars, and no one could put the ball past Alicia.
That's because they were all too scared to throw it at me. If they actually had to put a good shot on, they would have scored.
You had them psyched out, but that's what a good goalkeeper does. Yep.
Very true.
Yeah. So we won't get into your coaching of Sydney Uni just yet. Tell us, you won 2 National League titles as a player, correct? Both with Cronulla?
I did. Yep.
So one in 2006?
6 and 12.
Yeah. What was the difference between those 2 premierships?
So I got injured in 6. So I actually broke a finger and was not allowed to play, even though I thought I could. I was told not to play because obviously we had bigger and better things coming up nationally. So with me not being able to play, there wasn't really anyone else to play for Cronulla. So Kaz Kerr got invited back to play, and Kaz was really nervous because she felt like, it was beyond her. But I can tell you what, she came back and there was a passion and a love for the game from her that just went through the team. And I think that was really important to get us where we needed to be, because that was back in the day where you played 3 games to win. So every round it was the best of 3. And unfortunately, Phil, again, we played Balmain in that playoff.
We won the first game.
You did win the first game. And I really do think that what Kaz drove back into that team in her time with us is what really got us across the line, because you were so tired after, I think we played 8 games in about 6 days or something. It was crazy. And even when we played Balmain, so the best of 3, you played 2 games in one day. To think that you would play 2 National League finals games, a grand final in one day, if you tell people that now, they'd think you were stupid. But it's what we did. And I put it down to what she drove into that team with the passion of Cronulla and what it meant to everyone to win. And we had John Davey as coach. And I think he flogged us at training and made us do the same things over and over and over again. And when it came to playing, it was just absolute your nature just to do those things, because we'd had it drilled into us and had been flogged at training. So it worked. And when we were tired, we knew what to do, and it all came off together.
So Maka, you were saying before that when you broke your thumb and you wanted to play, but they wouldn't let you play. Was that a joint discussion with Cronulla and the Australian staff, or just Cronulla, or am I looking outside the realm here? How'd that all...
just a conversation from Dumper to me.
Okay.
Not to play.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, look, as it turns out, like I still have pain in that finger. So like I could have done more damage to it and been out of the national team for longer. So while I always want to play and I want to play every game I can, it was the right thing to do for my longevity. But at the time, no, I didn't want to hear it. I think I had about 3 weeks out. So, which isn't a long time, really. But as when you're the number 1 goalkeeper and you play all game, every game, it feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
Mackie, you talk about some injuries that kept you out of international and also the domestic competition. What advice would you give to young or not young, I suppose, players that are injured or are trying to get back from injury? Because like whether it was a direct injury, like a broken finger, or an overuse one for you, you did have a few, and you know, yep, and you came back bigger and better every time. So what advice would you give?
I guess for your direct injuries, like an impact injury, you've just got to have the time out and let things heal in time to come back. And I didn't want to do it, so I don't expect any player to want to do it at the moment. Take that time to heal, but you will be around in the game a lot longer. I've seen people not treat their injuries and they don't ever amount to what they could have been. So I would definitely say you've got to let those injuries heal. And the overuse injuries, I think it's really important for the younger ones coming through that are starting to get those little niggles to listen to their body and just rest. Sometimes we all need that mental day off or that physical day off, not because you are injured or sick, but because you're about to be. And I don't think we're smart enough at the moment. Coaches, players, everyone, I really don't think we're smart enough in saying, okay, I'll take a session off, or I'll take a couple of days off, get my body better. And when I get back, I'll train harder and faster. I think we just push through way too much. And that's a reason that there's so many injuries at the moment.
Can I say, oh, sorry.
Go on, Kasia. Go.
The silver lining with COVID. So you have to basically not come to training if you are at all sniffly, at all sick. So, you know, Maka will attest to this. A lot of us will battle through, will come to training when we're a little bit under the weather, not thinking we're going to give it to anyone, not wanting to do that, but just thinking, oh, I can't, it's in inverted commas, weak to not come to training today. I'm not that sick. Whereas the right thing to do for yourself and the team is, of course, not come to training. So silver lining of COVID, you actually are not allowed to come. So it's yeah, I don't know. It's a really good thing. And I think it hopefully will as Macca said, teach us a lesson that, you know, it's either your body saying you need the rest, or it's like you will get injured if you keep going how you're going. So take that, take this lesson and put it into the future, I think.
I think it would be hard to look at the stats from COVID time to non-COVID in regards to sickness and injury, because obviously not everyone is training such high impact. There's obviously not the games and the travel and all of that involved as well, but it would be interesting to see how often people have got sick, even in this lower intensity period.
But Macca, do you think it's a mental scenario that if you don't go to training, that the coach might think less of you, or if I don't go there, I might lose my spot, and if I lose my spot, I can't get back in, so I'm going to go no matter what?
Yeah, I think it's a bit, it's on us that we don't want to look bad, but I also don't think there's enough support from within teams of teammates. Like, I saw that as a coach, as soon as someone, so if someone turned up unwell or just under the weather a little bit, mentally not there, I would send them home. And I would see still teammates go, oh, that's a bit unfair. Why do they get to go home, or why are they not here? Instead of, yep, they need a break, and I hope that they're fitter, happier, healthier come the game or come next training session or whatever it be. So while it is an internal fight with yourself, I also think that because of the nature of the way we've developed our sport in being so competitive between athletes, I think that you also see that in the team environment where you don't want to miss a session because you don't want those negative thoughts and feelings coming from teammates as much as the coach.
So from your experience onto coaching, you've gained that experience about players being sick, and you know what it's like. So you don't have a problem to tell them, listen, you're not well, you're under weather, whatever it is,
yep.
you can go.
I'd quite often send people home, even if they turned up looking tired. If I knew they had lots of study on or work was just horrendous at that period of time. Obviously not. If you had repeat offenders, which I didn't at Sydney Uni, I was really lucky. They had a really good culture of turning up to training. But if there was people that I felt needed a session off just because I thought they needed it off, I would send them home. I'd actually ban them from training.
Yep.
Alicia, I don't know if you realise, but we were supposed to land in Israel for World Championships next week, and you've had a bit of experience with Australian level juniors over the last year and what they go through to prepare. Do you think we're pushing our juniors a little bit too much?
100%. I think that the juniors, the timing of when they are trying to make these teams and everything that they're being asked to do, they're fighting for a place in National League teams. Like, they're that fringe, not the team itself, the 13 that play, but probably, you know, on that scope of being a number in the National League squad. So they're fighting for that. They're fighting for school teams. A lot of them do go to private schools and must attend private school training and things like that also. Then they're in state teams, and their 16s or 18s coaches want them, plus their grade teams want them. It just seems everyone wants a piece of the pie, and we just push them too hard, too much, all the time. Plus they're trying to do well at school, and they're in their final years of schooling. I see it all way too much.
So Macca, in saying that, now I believe there's going to be an under 16 world champs in the future. What's your thoughts on that?
I guess it depends how we're going to look after them. I don't think we speak to each other enough about what's going on. Club coaches, you know, they obviously want their piece of the pie. Are they getting spoken to or about what the training load is looking like from state coaches, from national coaches? Are the school coaches involved in all of this? It's just, I don't feel like there's much communication along the line. I felt it when I was coaching, that there was no communication. And because everyone wants their team to do well, And, you know, as a coach, you keep your position if your team is doing well. Everyone kind of only cares about their situation and not the next person in the line situation. And at the end of the day, there's an athlete involved in this, and there's, you know, you got to look at each individual athlete and see what they're going through. Some kids need more, some kids need less. But we take them all on as a team, and don't often look at the individual. I think 16s was probably, I don't know where age-wise everyone does their HSC or the like for different states, but 16s seems like a better age group to me to be working on world championships than 18s, when those final years of school, all of that's happening. So I don't know whether you go from 16s and have a gap and then go again, or what you do, but I see it as a better timing than that 18s group where there's just more involvement of school.
It's very hard, isn't it, for that age group to where they sit with their studies and school and everything else. So
it doesn't have to be. If there was better communication and more individual plans that all work together to form the teams and squads, it can be done. But I don't think there's the communication.
Yeah, let's get back onto you and your coaching career. You moved after you played that one season for Sydney Uni.
Yep.
You were approached by Sydney Uni, or you put your hand up to coach?
The girls asked me, actually, would I coach? And then having a chat to Ian, he said to me, "Oh, I'm done. Do you want it?" So, it was, I guess, you know, not having, like, coming into that team, and they treated me so well as a member of the team straight away. We're very thankful that I was there. Obviously, you know, not having a goalkeeper, so they would be very thankful, but it was more just, I guess I wasn't obviously the goalkeeper that Leah could be. I was more the voice behind them, and that's what they were after, wanting me to provide that voice again the following year to coach. So yeah, that's why I stayed on and coached that year after playing.
2 years, 3 years.
Well, yeah, after the first year, I actually got pregnant again with my second. And it was Leah actually who said to me, "It's an Olympic year, you can't leave us hanging." So she guilted me very easily. I do bow down to guilts a lot. So that's how I coached the second year. And then it was actually Daniel Marsden who said to me, "Well, you can't walk out after winning just one medal. You have to continue."
It's so good at guilting you. It's amazing.
Yeah, I got guilted a lot. And then, I decided that 3 years was enough, and it was time to put some time into my own children. And that's when I actually travelled Australia for 12 months.
So Macca, coming from as a player goalie, as we all know you are, and a great goalie, and you said you didn't really notice the referees because they weren't calls against you or whatever. How did that change when you become a coach?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't coach internationally, obviously, just nationally. And I guess because I was older too and had been around the national team for so long, I knew all the referees, not on a personal level, not to where I would feel like as a player I would never have gone up and spoken to them. But then once I was a coach, I felt like it was my responsibility to start speaking to the referees after games, and asking questions about why things happened. I mean, I can't change the way my players play unless I know what went wrong. So I would, if I ever had any concerns, I wanted to know why something had happened the way it had in a game, I would go and ask questions. And it was after building that relationship with the referees that I decided I'm going to actually push my players to go and ask the questions. Mm-hmm. Rather than getting them, they were asking me or getting angry with the referees and then just storming off after games. It was, no, well, if you've got a question or you want to know why something happened, go and ask. And try and develop that player-referee relationship, because I think the referees are very intimidating. There are some that I feel are entitled, And then there are some that are fantastic and will go, here's why I did what I did. And I think the more that can actually not turn up as I'm the referee and I'm the one who manages this game and it's all about me. Those that turn up and go, hey, if I can teach these players how to play better, what the actual rules are, how to interpret the rules, how to play by the rules, then my game's going to be easier. My refereeing will look better if the players know what is expected of them. Because some do it so well. Some really take the time to talk to players and really explain the rules and giving those players a better understanding. Whereas others, once the game's done, you're not allowed to touch them, talk to them. It's just something that I think if they work on better as referees, it'll enhance the game.
Look, I think if most refs are approached amicably, they will, I've got no doubt, hopefully would share the time and explain what's going on, hopefully.
Yeah. Look, I haven't been around for a few years now, but even in my last year, I'd say there was a couple that I didn't find approachable. I haven't been around. So if that's improved, I think it's fantastic because it's definitely what's needed because referees should know the rules and how to interpret them better than anyone else.
Absolutely.
And as players, we don't get that education. So if the referees can educate players, I think it's only going to make our sport better.
So as a coach, Macca, and a referee makes a decision and the player thinks it's wrong and they sprint to the side and they jump out and they argue with you saying, oh, the referee made the wrong decision. But in your eyes, as a coach, you thought, well, no, that referee did the right call. Will you tell your player that you think they made a mistake, not the referee?
Yeah. So if players would go off at the referee, in my team, they would get dragged. No matter if I thought the referee was wrong or right, it was no, we don't speak to referees like that, so you'd be out. If they were kicked out and got out and then mouthing off about what had just happened and I didn't believe what they were saying was correct, I'd tell them so. And I'd say it loud enough for the referee to hear because I'd want the referee to know that I have their back also. But in saying that, if a player was angry about something and I clearly didn't know what it was about or thought it was a bit of a dodgy call, I'd just turn to my player and go, I've got no idea. So then at least the player, and loud enough again for the referee to hear, so that, the referee has the chance to explain to us after the game, and I'll go up and ask after the game what it was for.
Well, that's for me as a referee, that's fantastic to hear that, that as a coach, you would do that with your players and you would ask your players to speak to the ref or yourself speak to the ref. I think that's a great rapport that we should have.
Yeah, well, hey, I don't want to be reffing. I'm terrible. I start watching the game and get cranky at players. So I think referees don't get paid enough.
Absolutely.
They give up their time. There is no game without a referee, and you watch the lower grades play without referees, and it's terrible. People just jumping on the side of the pool to become a ref that game. So we definitely need the referees. So I think if we take each other a little better and take the time to speak to each other and again communicate, then it can only be better.
Okay, that's so refreshing. I think we should have you on every week to say that.
Thanks, Danny.
Question. I've got a question
with
from the Q&A box, Phil. Question from the Q&A box from Fiona. As a coach, Macca, would you invite a referee to a training session to go through the rules for greater understanding on all sides?
Yeah, I would. I've invited referees along to ref. I actually invited a younger referee who was an up-and-coming referee to come along to gain some experience, but also to get the feeling of what National League players go through. But I didn't do it again because of the way that referee was treated. I had invited another club to come along against the team that I was coaching. And the way that referee was treated that night, it kind of put me off because I'm only in control of myself and my players. I'm not in control of others. And after the way that referee was treated, I thought, I don't want to put another referee in that position again. I guess a senior referee wouldn't be in that scenario because they can look after themselves. But definitely I would get a referee to come along and explain things, because I think, as I said, no one knows the rules or how to interpret them better than referees, because you guys all have your own seminars, webinars, all of that kind of thing to go over the rules.
Alicia, going back to coaching, last year we had 4 females coaching as the senior coach in National League. This year it looks like, with Mel Rippon standing down from Cronulla, looks like there'll only be 2, which will be Katie Finicum at Fremantle and Danielle at Balmain. How do we get more women coaching at the high level, given that plenty of people put in at junior level, plenty of ladies, experienced water polo players put in at junior level? No one seems to come up and actually stay for a long period at the senior level.
Yeah, I guess it's all about the support they're given. I mean, not every female that's coaching at the senior level or wants to coach at the senior level has a family to look after. But I mean, in my scenario, I've got a husband who works shift work. So it's very difficult, and I have to rely on supports of family to look after the kids if I'm to coach. So that makes it really difficult. And it's really time consuming. So there's not just the turning up to training and games. There's the talking to athletes, having meetings with them, having meetings with the club, watching video. Like, there's so many more hours that go into it than just pool time. So I think it does take away from anyone that does have a family, especially a young family. So I'm sure Danielle will feel that this year, having the 2, and how she'll juggle that. But she does have the support of family, which is really good. But I don't know how you get more females to stay around unless there is that support that can be given also from outside of family. Because I mean, you can't lean on your family all the time either. But it does become difficult when, you know, the family dynamic, you've got husband working off one area and, you know, wife wanting to coach and kids involved, or, you know, someone like Katie's job is really time consuming and takes a lot up, and it's hard for her to get time off for work. But yeah, I don't know, that there's the same constraints happen for dads that want to coach too. You know, they want to be home with their children. So it's the same scenario, I guess, but I don't know what keeps females out of it. I can speak only on my story, and that's purely I wanted to be around for my kids a bit more because I was taken away from them so much.
Well, Alicia, do goalkeepers make better coaches?
I don't know. I think you can know the game well. You see it from a different angle than you have from the whole time you've been playing. But at the same time, you've got to have the right philosophy, the right temperament. There's so much more that goes into coaching than just the tactics and your vision. So yes, goalkeepers make good coaches, but I don't know that they make the best coaches, because it's a holistic person that makes the best coach.
Macca, do you think, given that the men's and women's game do have differences, that, you know, female coaches do have advantages in coaching female teams? I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be coaching male teams, but given that, you know, you have, as you said, watched the female game from the goals, or other potential past players have played in the actual game, there are advantages for there to be more female coaches, simply because they understand the nuances that potentially, and I've had many great male coaches, and I'm not saying that, but potentially the male coaches only can observe.
I don't think it means that they know the game differently, that females know a female game differently anymore to a male knowing the female game. I think it comes down to understanding females in the female environment, being able to control emotions, and just for instance, knowing when someone turns up to training and they're not themselves. Like, what is that? Is it that they're tired? Are they unwell? Is it because there's a boy issue? Whatever it be, I think, honestly, females pick that up better in a female, mainly because we've been through it. Then I think sometimes males don't pick that up as well. But boys are not like that. So when men are coaching men, boys will punch on if they're grumpy or whatever, where girls will cry. And there's just the differences, and I think it's important to have that female touch. So if there is a male coach, there probably needs to be a female assistant coach or manager or someone that's heavily involved in the dynamic of the program, not just there for game day or handing out caps or things like that, but someone who's really involved in the team. Needs to be female on female, I think, just to pick up on those little things and to help, just make that team gel a bit better. There needs to be a female involved, I believe.
Do you agree with that, Phil?
Oh, sorry.
As a coach, when I coach women, I've always had a female assistant, but Balmain's very good at that. Always had a female assistant, or actually sometimes 2 or 3 assistants. And every time I've gone away with a representative team, my assistant coach has always been a female. This year I had Katie and Macca as my 2 assistant coaches. And they, in our training camps, doing a lot more than I was doing. And it was terrific. Can I ask you one more question, Macca? Do you think the game is matured enough where institute coaches should be allowed to go and coach? You know, let's say Rebecca Rippon's a good example. She's New South Wales Institute coach when she comes back from the Australian team, but she's barred from coaching at any club. You know, have we matured enough where it shouldn't be a problem for her to go and coach at Cronulla?
Like, I look at it 2 ways. I came through where at times I thought, oh, that's a bit unfair. There's things going on at training that I thought, oh, they get more rest than we do, things like that. So I saw it as a player's perspective and I didn't like it. But I think at the same time, if we're going to ask Beck to coach at an Australian level and be able to support Pedrag 100%, and if anything was to happen to him, to step in and be the Australian coach of the senior women's national team, she has to be doing coaching. So if she's only being an assistant to him and never running something herself, and that's not just, NSWIS is different. It's training sessions, it's for physicality, it's not for the team environment and building a team and coming up with plays and all things like that. Like I 100% believe that Beck would have it nailed on how to keep a team fit, but that whole team environment, if she hasn't done it for so long, how is she expected to do it if something was to happen to Pedrag? So yeah, they need to be coaching a team, and a constant team, not just a one-off for a week or something like that. It's so vastly different to come in and change a team for a week than it is to hold together a group of people over a long period of time.
Macca, has the influx of overseas coaches been good for Australian water polo?
It hasn't been good for Australian coaches to progress, I don't think. What they've brought in terms of what they've learnt from overseas is really good. In terms of people here progressing and getting provided with opportunities, I don't think that's been good. So while we need coaches from overseas, bringing everything that they've learnt over there and offering a different perspective and things like that, we also need to provide a path for, we keep creating paths for, this is the path for these athletes to take to achieve an Olympic dream. Where is the path for referees? Where is the path for coaches? I don't think we've done enough on either of those 2. And if we don't progress coaches and referees, then our players will only ever get to a certain standard.
Okay.
Totally agree.
Well said.
Yes, very well said,
Now,
Macca.
unless anybody has anything else, we'll go on to our opinion segment with Mac.
Minnie,
Please.
ask one question before we go into it.
Yep.
Macca, what goes through the goalie's head? Let's say you're on the bench, okay? You didn't get in the water at all. The game's a draw. It goes to penalty shootout. You're still on the bench. All of a sudden, the coach says to you, all right, go out. You're in. You haven't played the whole game. You've done nothing. What goes through your head when the coach says, okay, now you're in?
You know what? You need to ask this question to VB because we were at a World Championships playing, cannot remember who for the life of me right now. Could have been Italy, but I can't really remember. I played the entire game. Back then, it was also extra time.
Okay.
VB was chucked in at the end for the penalty shootout. Cold as cold could be, and was terrible. And VB's great on a penalty.
Yes. Yep.
But was cold as cold could be because it was over an hour since she'd hit the water.
Yep.
And I obviously warmed up, knowing that I was the starting goalkeeper that game and would be playing. I warmed up as that.
Yep.
So she didn't even get as much warm up prior to the game as I did, and then was chucked in for the penalties. And yeah, did not do as well as what she usually would. So I haven't been in that situation, but she has. So that's definitely a question for her. I guess I'd relish in it. I would love the fact that I could be the saviour.
Yeah.
But that's what you want as a goalkeeper, to be that one, that the hero. I guess it's the same as any field player wanting to score the winning goal. Yeah. But yeah, it's one thing to want it and mentally be ready for it. It's another thing to be physically ready for it. And I'd say Beebs would have loved it, jumping in and being, potentially being the hero. But it wasn't to be, because her body just did not move as fast as she needed to because she was so cold. And I felt sorry for her. It was a horrible situation for her because, yeah, she just had nothing when it, in that last
crunch. Yep, fair enough. Thank you.
Alicia, just one more question from me, if I could. Do you have any aspirations to go on to a higher level of coaching?
It's hard living out here. And we chose to live out here. It's a lifestyle choice where we can afford to do what we want. So I don't regret the move out here, but it has taken me away from water polo as such. And I can only really do camps and things like that. And I guess you bringing me back in to be with the youth squad was really good. And I was really looking forward to that. But it does take me away from coaching full time, purely because I'm, 4.5 hours from Sydney. So it's a little bit difficult. So at this point in time, I'd say no aspirations to go further. But I do want to be involved as much as possible. So whenever I get the opportunity, I try and jump at it if I can. If I can make it work out here with the family and the kids getting looked after, then yeah, I do jump at it. But I'm not prepared to be living in Sydney. Probably live in another state. Not so much Sydney in terms of being in a city.
Now,
Playing in Melbourne.
We're full of COVID.
Take over there.
Canberra's not far away.
Mask, are you? Have you got your Delphina mask?
I do. Would you like me to run and get it?
No, I don't want you. I want you to keep talking just for a couple of minutes. Tell us about Canowindra. I mean, I've never been there. It's 4.5 hours from Sydney.
Yep. So we are the balloon capital of Australia. So hot air ballooning. So of a morning, Phil, you'd hear the waves rolling in on Bondi Beach. I hear a hot air balloon only a few metres above my roof.
Wow.
So yeah, anytime it's good weather, there's a hot air balloon or 10 up in the sky, which is really lovely. We're a farming community. So right now there are fields of gold, lots of canola around, which just sends me sneezing all day long, but very beautiful. And then there's cattle and sheep. But yeah, little farming community. So it's nice and safe little community. I mean, the kids can ride to school mean, they're only, 5 and 6, and they can ride their bikes to school, no worries. So yeah, everything's in walking distance. My office is a short little stroll, so I can leave work at 2 o'clock and be home by 2:01.
And if anyone wants to buy a house there, we just ring you up.
Yeah, that's right. If you would like an investment property, I have a few available at the moment, and then I can put someone into rent for you. How's that sound?
Sounds good if it's going to appreciate. How much can we get a 3-bedroom house for in Canowindra?
You'd be looking anywhere between 250 to 350 for a 3-bedroom home.
Okay, not too bad.
It's a lot better than Sydney.
Rental market here, if you've got a 3-bedroom home, you could ask $310 a week.
Okay, pretty good. And I thought Danny would be asking this. How many pubs in town?
Yeah.
In terms of drinking holes, there's about 5. One pub only opens at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon. So the Royal, if you want to go to the Royal, best burgers in town, that's my Friday go-to. And they only open at 4:30 on a Friday, and they're only open Friday, Saturday, Danny. So
Oh, jeez. Lucky there's 4 other pubs then, Macca.
yeah, there's a couple of clubs, RSL, golf club, all those things.
And it's rugby league country out there too, Danny.
Well, we've got league and we've got union.
Have you got Australian rules?
Sorry?
No Australian rules?
No Australian rules.
No.
Wouldn't even know what that ball looks like, Ian.
Okay. Well, nothing wrong with rugby league country, that's for sure. Okay, back to water polo. The opinion piece, I've got it here. We'll do it in order as we've got it. Best female player that you have seen. Let's say goalkeeper, let's say field player, and then we'll go to goalkeeper.
Yeah. Wow. I couldn't pick. I really couldn't pick.
Okay, that gets us going.
Well, no, I feel like if you pick anyone over someone else, there's reasons that, I don't know.
Okay, what about goalkeeper?
I really don't know.
That too?
Different people do. Sorry?
Okay, what about male player? Don't want to play with us? Best male goalkeeper, Alicia. There's been some good ones.
Yeah. Yeah, but as I say, how do you pick from one era over another era?
Well, stopping balls, Michael Turner.
Yeah.
James Stanton.
I honestly cannot pick a player over another player. That's like people asking me to pick, is the 2000 team better than the 2020 team?
Can you pick a coach who impressed you? Not the best.
Good way
Not the best.
I'm trying hard.
But, I mean, how do you go past Adam?
Yeah.
How do you go past him?
Adam
The girls all seem so happy with him. He's got the best Olympic record. How do you go past him?
He was a good guest too. Excellent. What about, we were talking about female coaches, females coaching. Then maybe that's not a big enough pool to pick from.
No, not really.
No, okay. What about teammates of note?
Oh, Keisha.
There we go. We got an answer.
Yeah, there you go. Again, so I spent all my free time with Bronnie Knox. She was my roommate of selection. I tell you what, we don't do as well as we did in London without Mel. I know she was captain for the Beijing team, but what she brought to London was far greater as not being the captain. It's, I don't know, there's different players for different teams, I think, because sometimes it's not the best player in a team. Sometimes it's just the player who works the hardest, who sits on the bench the best. So it's really hard to say the best player that I've ever seen or played with. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to say Mel, from what she's done for me and the times that she was there for me when I needed her to be. It's not to say that we always had the best relationship. I mean, we'd yell at each other in the pool. She'd blame me if I didn't tell her the absolute best position to be in. But when it matters, Dumper actually asked us to fill out a form one day to say who we would take to war with us. Which, you know, when your husband actually goes, you know, off and does those things, you kind of think, yeah, water polo is not war. So it's a really hard one to answer. But if I had to pick one player that I wanted beside me all the time, I'd pick Mel.
All right. A referee who has impressed you.
Oh, now I have to say Danny.
Hey.
I knew you'd do that.
Well, I don't know that you've ever refed me, actually.
He has. Okay.
How do you feel?
How about best venue?
Best venue.
Well, I'm talking about pools here. You know, I thought Phil might be.
Australian pools?
Sorry?
Australian pools?
Australia first.
Yeah, I do both, Australian and international.
Yeah, okay. I loved MSAC for World Champs. I thought, mind you, it was freezing and I really wanted people to score goals, so they'd do those flamethrower things because it was so cold when I was on the bench. But I liked the atmosphere of that. I can't say that any other pool really gives me that atmosphere. I mean, Balmain would if it was my home pool, but it's never been my home pool, so I feel it's always been intimidating. But it would give that atmosphere, I think. I don't. There's not really an Australian pool that absolutely blows my mind, other than, you know, having World Champs at MSAC.
Overseas venue?
Oh, there's so many European places that I've loved. Played the Pythia Cup once in Greece. I can't even tell you where the pool was. It was on a bay, but it was beautiful. Not the most lovely looking place, but I loved the tournament there, so it always holds a special place. The big venues don't really do it for me all the time. It's more the little intimate ones that do.
Talking about an intimate venue here, do you think Cronulla should be allowed to use Gunnamatta Bay for National League games?
If they did some work to it. I mean, you can't expect Balmain to have done the work that they've done and put in pontoons and all those kind of things unless Cronulla are going to do the same. But yes, it would be a good atmosphere down there, and I think it's better than playing up at Southo.
Okay.
But it has to have work.
A lot of people would agree with that. All right, Alicia, it has been an absolute delight chatting with you tonight, and your insights into water polo and your career have been fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And that just about brings us to the end of the program, ladies and gentlemen. Phil, Danny, Keisha, and once again, Alicia, thank you very much for joining us. And our next program will be on Monday, September 21. Our special guest is Simon Daly. Who is Simon Daly, Phil?
Simon Daly is
I know, but
ex-and Swiss QAS coach and runs Academy Sport. You should look at their website if you want to know anything what's happening in world water polo.
Yep, the Academy of Water Polo pops up on your screen every day, and it's a good read, and no doubt we'll be reading it in between now and then. So thank you for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next time on The Whistleblower. That's Monday, the 21st of September, and thanks again to everybody. We'll see you soon.